Hello and welcome back to the Growth Vantage Podcast. My name is Garrett Vita and I am your host. I'm so happy that you're here today and I'm so grateful that you're here to join me through this episode. Today we're going to talk about understanding and why it's not enough. The reason I want to talk about it is that words become so saturated in this new society that we're in, technology, so much information, and we start to put so much emphasis on words and phrases, but devalues the meaning and the actual action behind it. And I want to share with you what I've learned through my experience on a different terminology that I've adjusted from trying to understand into this new phrase that has allowed me to really take another level of being in a better place of really gaining connection with others, myself, as well as communication, and really being able to be on the same page, because no matter what in life you do, you're always going to be wanting to be on the same page as someone, whether it's on doing an investment, whether it's just in a relationship, or you're just talking to a stranger. You always want to be on the same topic. But I feel like nowadays people have a sense of understanding, but when in reality they're just saying they're understanding, but they're not really understanding, and want to portray that they're understanding so that they can get whatever it is. And so, what I really want you to take out of this is really to be in the gravity. This is so important and so much more impactful to you and to others when you are in the gravity of the context. Usually when someone says something to you or you're really trying to communicate something to someone, be in the gravity of that situation. My definition of being in the gravity is when you're present, you're curious, you're you're emotionally there with them, you identify and understand what the topic is, and you're able to communicate effectively, regardless of whether there's an opposition or you're on the same page. I feel like when people say the understanding, there's always some kind of conflict, when in reality, if you truly understood what the person was trying to convey to you, you'd be on the same page. And so being in the gravity allows you to, regardless of the situation, whether you're in a conflict or you're not, to be on the same page so that you guys can really be in harmony moving forward, because that's really comes down to communication and action and fulfilling a purpose, and our calling in our life is really being in a harmony and being on the same path as those around us and those with our alignment with God or who we believe in, and all that really comes from being in the gravity. Being in the gravity refers to a few things. I see, I feel you, I'm with you, and I trust you. When you can really say those wholeheartedly, then you're being in the gravity of that moment, of whatever the context is. When we start to say, I feel, you really understand and you feel the emotion from the other person, whether it's, anger, whether it's empathy, whether it's, disgust, whatever that emotion is, really understanding like what that emotion is. Sometimes in life, during communication, there's always some kind of there's a like a butting heads of emotions, which isn't really good because a lot of our communication comes from that emotional side of it, but we don't get connected because of it. So it's important for us to really settle down with our subconscious to really be embraced by the other's emotions, whether good or bad. But in that same point, but don't let ourselves engulf in it, because we don't want to tell our subconscious and our conscious mind to steer away from what we are trying to convey. So it's important to feel what they are trying to convey, but also to really have it side by you so that you can make decisions for yourself, not because of their own emotions. Next one is, I see you. This refers to like when you're trying to walk in someone else's shoes. If you've heard the book To Kill a Mockingbird, or no, sorry, there's another story that I read back in middle school where it talked about really walking else in someone's shoes, and this is what it's to really referring. So many times we're in a conversation or we're trying to take actions, there's always some kind of vantage point we're trying to get to, and there's usually one and another person, but usually there's some kind of miscommunication or misdirection on alignment of those two in that party. And so it's important to really be in the gravity of that moment, to really undersee and where they're coming from, that angle. Because now, no matter what we do, we all can talk about the same topic, but we're going to see it so differently because based off our past experiences or emotions, current circumstances, it can really change how we see that angle. So it's important to really understand when you're talking to that person, what angle are they coming from? Because at that current moment, you're going to be in an angle and they're going to be at a different angle. It's important to really be in the gravity so that you can really come in the middle and be the same gravity together. By doing that, it's really just being present with them and really showing them like, hey, I'm here to see what you're saying. Just being curious about what they're saying, no matter, if it's a conflict or whatever it is, if it's against your own mental capacities or really something that you don't agree with, it's fine. Be in the gravity with them. Allow them to see and show you what they're seeing. Because what you can pick up from them can help you better in some shape or form, even though it may be something you may not agree with. And that's okay. At the end of the day, you're trying to be on the same side. And in order to see what they're seeing is that you need to see regardless of whatever your vantage and what you're seeing. Next point is, I am with you. This kind of goes in conjunction with the last 2 points, but I think it's so important to let the other person know that I am with you. No matter the circumstance, no matter what they're going through, hey, I'm with you on what you're saying. Regardless of how I feel, I'm still with you. And it's good because it really allows us to really puts us in position for trusting for the next point. But it shows that, hey, this is a collaboration between us two. No matter what we are doing, this is a collaboration. And it's so important nowadays, people always try to try to influence people to, choose their side or, convince others to, that their opinion is the best. And in my opinion, that's totally off. And it's totally fine to have contrasting viewpoints as long as you guys are doing it with each other. Because when you have one side is a positive, one side is a negative, like a battery, they cancel each other out. Regardless of what your viewpoints are, as long as they're contrasting, you're being with one another. If you're on the same point side, that's even better. You can really magnify each other. So it's important to really be in those moments to really say, hey, I'm with you on that. It's important to, no matter what situation you're in, is to support what they are trying to convey or they're trying to do, regardless of the situation. I think so many times we have friends, I think as you have friends, you start to go through life, you start to have like differences of opinions, they have their own viewpoints where they wanted to go through in life, same with you. But I think you can still be friends and still be with them, even though you may contrast, and it's totally fine. Everyone has their own truth, everyone has their own way they want to live, but I think it's just an issue when people try to convince others of the viewpoint instead of being with them and trying to be in the gravity with them. And the last point is, I trust you. All of the previous points really come up to the icing on the cake, which is, I trust you. Each of those stones are so important to lead to this last one, because this really magnifies and really shows to the other person that, hey, I get it. I'm with you. Let's do this together. And for me, I think having that trust at the end really solidifies a relationship, whether it's intellectual, emotional, whatever it is. Whatever that viewpoint is, it allows you to really say, hey, we didn't go through this together, no matter how hard it is, no matter how great it is, or how bad it is, or no matter how many messes we have. I still trust you. Even if you fail, I still trust you. I still trust that it's still going to benefit us together as friends, or whatever the relationship is moving forward. One thing I've learned about being in the gravity, I guess currently, is that it's through my development project. And so it's, this is definitely something that's been pretty financially intensive. And so it's going through this whole process and really trying to navigate myself through this. I've really had to really understand my faith with God in that relationship. And I felt like before this project, I felt like I knew God and, that relationship. But through this whole process, I've really learned like a lot of what the churches have been trying to say and what you teach. And it's so interesting to see how I felt like I understood what all that was saying, but I didn't really feel the gravity of it until now. And now I honestly feel a lot better. I don't not as stressed, even though a lot of stuff is still there's a lot of things I still need to navigate. I'm still, not I still need to figure out how to adjust. But through that process of being in the gravity with our relationship with God, the Bible, and having a supportive community that are more aligned with what I do and my faith, and it's helped me to really solidify things that I do need in my life. And I've noticed that it's not as life isn't as rigid as it needs to be, or it's not as stressful. Even though we are stressed and we're pushing ourselves, there's sudden pressure inside, emotional and I guess pressure inside that's not really coming up because of that being in the gravity of that relationship with God or whatever your situation may be. And no matter what you do, really just take the time to be in the gravity. It can really calm yourself down. It can really put yourself in a good level-headed mindset. It can really put you in a happier, better emotional state while decreasing the negative things that come into your life. And I think one of the things I've really done to really be in the gravity more is really just to let my heart open and just to listen more intently. And sometimes I think allowing that process allows you to really just consciously really be more curious about what the other person is saying, what is the potential there. And for me, I think I've noticed that it's such a good practice. I wish I'd learned that sooner, because I think a lot of things in the past, I think a lot of things would have been easier to adjust to and I wouldn't be as stressed. So I think once you start to be in the gravity of understanding of like what you're trying to get past and really listening to others, it really pushes you forward in a more, I guess, enlightened state of being and faith or communication and, financially, whatever it may be. And I think it really helps you to prepare for like, things ahead, being in the gravity. So don't forget to be in the gravity and not just to understand. I see you, I feel you, I'm with you, and I trust you. Thank you so much for listening, guys, and I'll see you guys next time.